link. Sort of. Ooh, did I stop the broadcast? No, I didn't. That's my event page. There's my YouTube page.
This
Copy.
this is probably the best introduction to a podcast ever.
It's almost like we haven't done this in a year. All right. What is it?
No, I think this is our second podcast this calendar year.
Maybe, I don't know. I'll have to look back at it at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe just go into the actual First 11 podcast Twitter account. Whatever. No one's listening. Fuck all of you. I have no fans. I don't need any of you. I got that teacher money. I got that AFC Mobile money.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's what I hear.
11 pod. I should say the password as I'm typing it in.
Yeah, might as well.
All right. Oops. Double print. All right. We are on the air. We are terrible at podcasting.
It's true.
All right. And the link is out, which means we are official. And this is the First 11 podcast for the first time in the better part of 6 months, I'm going to say. Evan's been out writing books. I've been out starting soccer teams. And basically,
right. Yeah.
Basically, I got nothing else to introduce us with. How's life as a locally renowned author, Evan Ream?
Well, I'm not, because I haven't finished the book yet, but working on it. It's I know a lot of. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Twice at Cosmos said that you were always in the know on West Coast soccer.
They said on West Coast soccer, which confused me because I just have no idea what that means. I guess that's true. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I actually, literally even as soon as, or as recent as like an hour ago, people were accusing me of being an MLS bot, but like I literally only cover the NASL and the USL, so I don't really know what to say about that. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
You can't really win no matter what you do. You're either an MLS bot or you're a pro-rel zealot, and there's not really a whole lot of in between that you can ever hit no matter what. You never make everyone happy. I mean, I was on Twitter probably a month or two back. I don't even remember what I was saying. The basic sum was I was making a comment about MLS. I had one person telling me I was an MLS bot, and I had another person telling me that I'm way too critical of a league.
I mean,
you realize that's no one, right?
The only way to win is to quit Twitter. And I can't wait. I'm going to be so glad when the day I finally can quit Twitter.
You'll never quit Twitter if you want to make it in soccer journalism.
As the biggest journalist who currently lives in Davis, California, my friend Mike. I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying my friend Mike Silver, who's on NFL Network. He has like 100,000 Twitter followers or so. He used to work for Sports Illustrated and go on binges with Dennis Rodman. He always says, Twitter isn't even real. So,
it's not. Yeah. All right. So I guess at this point we'll keep on the discussion on what are we talking today? We're talking NPSL, NASL, MLS, and no USL today. No USL. We are, which is weird because that's sort of your main frame of reference for everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people wanted to talk about some Sac Republic stuff, but you don't really know anything about that. So
no. Well, I'm sure we'll hit them. I mean, Sac Republic's MLS anyway. So
right.
with that, we're going to start off with our good friends in the National Premier Soccer League. Just recently had their GM meeting, I guess is what you'd call it. And they are bringing in several new teams this year. And if I was good at podcasting, I would have had said teams pulled up ahead of time. But I'm bad at podcasting, so I'm going to pull them up right now. So you have Tobacco Road FC out of North Carolina.
Wait, what?
Tobacco Road FC out of North Carolina. You've got my favorite name, SC Corinthians USA, because USA worked so well. Fort Lauderdale Strikers U23. I'm sort of reading this as it flashes on their website. We've got Memphis City FC, Southern California Sports Club, Birmingham Hammers, Ann Arbor. I believe they're AFC Ann Arbor. I can't see their thing right now. Who else do you got? You got Grand Rapids. Whole slew of teams. But I think the team that everyone's dying to talk about are and this is not a typo or spelling mistake, the Rochester River Dogs with a capital Z at the end. So, go ahead.
But that's not okay. But and that's what we talked about before we got on. We were going to talk about the River Dogs, right? Which doesn't make any sense in any world. But Tobacco Road FC
Tobacco Road FC. Oh, Boston City Football Club. I forgot about them.
But tobacco. What is the Tobacco Road? Is that like the Silk Road? Like,
do you really not know what the Tobacco Road is?
I'm not from the East Coast.
Oh, that's right. All right. So the Tobacco Road is pretty much all of Raleigh-Durham. The Tobacco Road rivalry is Wake Forest, UNC, and Duke, and North Carolina State.
Okay, all right. I guess it makes sense. Just coming from a West Coast perspective, it's just a pretty big, I've got nothing. No excuses.
I don't even really know how to start a discussion on this because let's start off with the team names. Let's just start from there. All right, Tobacco Road FC or SC. I apologize. I don't know which one they are. And end of the day, does it really matter? It's terrible.
I love that name. I want to start.
In all fairness, they were supposed to travel down for the U.S. Open Cup to play, I believe it's FC Montagua of New Orleans, and they decided that they didn't have enough money to do that, so they forfeited the playing round of the U.S. Open Cup. Now they're in NPSL. I guess they have the money to pay I believe it's $50,000 last I knew, plus whatever the forfeiture bond is. So they're willing to drop out of U.S. Open Cup, which at the end of the day, only people like you and me actually care about.
Yeah.
But I don't get why you drop out of that and join NPSL, because I'm not sure that they're going to get any more credibility as a team in NPSL than they would if they stayed in whatever regional league they played in. I believe it's in Charlotte. I don't get why you join NPSL at this point, to be frank with you. We'll get into that when we get a couple topics down.
But I mean, the idea is, more credibility or whatever. It's like, and we'll talk about SF City FC later. They're joining a league because it's credible and because there are fewer. Okay, so like the league that SF City FC plays in right now, like there's a team from Davis that plays in that league, and literally it's like impossible to you don't get the schedule until a couple weeks beforehand, so you can't really promote anything. It's really not very well run. There's literally a team in that same league that Davis beat 17-0 the other day. So how do you even score 17 goals in a regional logo? I mean, from what I'm understanding, it's like you and I could have gone out there and played them 2-on-11 and probably only lost 15-0. I mean, it's just it's like that. That's why you join NPSL, because of the built-in infrastructure, the whatever, credibility, in the same way that our podcast has credibility, where like 10 people care about it, right? It's like it makes it easier on scheduling, and it that's why you join it. You really for the stability is I guess what I should say.
But I don't really know that there's more stability in NPSL than there is anywhere else. I mean, I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but teams fold left and right in NPSL because they join NPSL thinking there's that built-in infrastructure, and suddenly they've spent, 30, 40, 50,000 just to travel back and forth. I always go back to the closest team to me right now is New Orleans. New Orleans' closest road trip is 5 hours away.
Jeez.
New Orleans' road trip is, I believe the last I checked, double the length of any other team in their region. They spend more on travel than other teams play in, room and board for their players. They've got that built-in infrastructure, but if they were to stay more local, maybe play with one of these more small regional leagues, and there are some very organized regional leagues. I don't know what leagues, I said Sacramento FC, San Francisco played in, but if we get down, and we're going to talk about this in a second, if you get down to some of the more organized regional leagues, there is a built-in structure. There is a built-in stability that you don't have in NPSL. I mean, I obviously was part of that Pensacola story where they dropped midway through the season because they didn't feel they could afford it, but they're not alone in that. A lot of teams just can't afford that travel, and joining an NPSL just to join NPSL seems stupid.
Well, then maybe what they see is Chattanooga hosting, grabbing like 20,000 fans for, the final, and they say, hey, maybe that could be us. So I mean, I don't know, maybe, but these teams aren't necessarily. We don't know if they're well run or not, right? I mean, well, clearly some teams aren't well run if they're going to put a capital Z at the end of their name. I mean, how does that happen? Like, it doesn't even take like a marketing budget to not do that. It takes like you looking at the names of 10 other soccer teams in the country and then saying, oh, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea to put a capital Z at the end of it. But then again, maybe it is a good idea because we're talking about it. So, who knows?
I don't understand. And I think you brought up this point about Chattanooga. And I do think that your Chattanoogas, your Detroits, your Tulsas, they give a skewed perception to people who are investing that money.
Yeah.
Every person says, I'm going to start my soccer team and, forget about 18,000. I'm going to get 1,000 people easy again.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's realistic, especially when you look at the marketing skills of some of these teams. But going back to your River Dogs, I don't understand that move at all. Forget about the Z at the end of the name. Nothing about that team makes any sort of logical sense to me. There's already a team in Rochester, which does, decently well. And you're just going to not only throw a team, but you're going to throw a team with a hot mess of a badge out there and then a giant Z at the end. I know Doherty said that there's some sort of illogical reason behind the Z. I would love to know what it is. So if you're out there, River Dogs supporters or ownership or whatever, we would love to have you come on the First 11 podcast and explain to us what the hell the Z is all about.
Brent, no, we don't even need to necessarily do that. Brendan Doherty, if you're listening right now, which maybe you are, I mean, maybe you're one of our listeners, just send us a tweet. We'll read it on the air. Just send us a tweet. Tell us what's going on. It doesn't even have to be just one tweet. Send us 10 tweets. Make it happen. Yeah. I mean, so we already started to talk about this a little bit before, but those regional soccer leagues. I think you want to talk about this more, but it seems like these regional soccer leagues, and you have listed an example of Great Lakes Premier League, the Louisiana Premier League, Evergreen Premier League. I don't even know where Evergreen Premier League is. Is that Washington State?
Washington State.
Oh, nice. Good for me. That was a guess. And there's one locally with the NorCal Premier Soccer League that is has its issues, but it's still soccer and it's still happening. I guess, man, we're so bad at this. what did you want to say about this, Abram?
I'm looking at these. I thought you were doing fine. But we're getting into this point now where we have these regional, and I for lack of a better word, they're the regional Premier Leagues, and we're getting at this level with them. They're establishing themselves enough where they are proving grounds. They're proving grounds for teams too, and this is the opposite of what I was just saying. These teams to promote themselves into NPSL. If you look at the Great Lakes Premier League, you had, I believe it is, Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor are both moving up, promoting themselves into NPSL this year. Or on the same hand, you have the Madison 56ers who didn't do well in NPSL, didn't draw a whole lot, and they're, whatever the promotion version of relegation is, they're relegating, they're relegating.
For relegating.
They're dropping down back to the I believe it's the Great Lakes Premier League.
They're pulling a Dayton Dutch Lions.
Yeah, and you've got Louisiana Premier League. Those teams do well. They travel throughout the state of Louisiana. They're looking to expand into Alabama, Mississippi, and the Gulf Coast of Florida to sort of try to establish their brand more. And if you look at a team like the Jesters, who I was talking about, the Jesters are spending a crap ton of money traveling. Crap ton. So it's not really that big of a drop-off for them if they were to suddenly say, okay, we're going to play in the Louisiana Premier League. Same thing with the Evergreen Premier League up in, I believe it's only in Washington. I apologize if they're in Oregon too, but I think it's just Washington. They have large supporter bases. They have well-run teams. They're very organized. And just looking at them and looking at teams even like the Birmingham Hammers, who weren't in a regional league, but they were they ran independently and they played some of the regional league teams as well as some NPSL teams. Or going back to San Francisco, who played in a regional league. It's sort of like, the way I see it now, this is almost the way to test the market, to test out your team, to see if people are willing to show out to support and to see if you can run a professional soccer team or a semi-professional or, a completely amateur team. And I kind of feel like this is and should be that new sort of proving ground. Maybe we should have promotion and relegation in America, but, base it totally on your bottom line and how professionally you can run your amateur team.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely worked for some clubs. And, maybe it is a better idea than spending however much it costs to join PDL or NPSL right away and, seeing hey, look, is there local support? Are people going to come watch us before, you know, and is there talent in the area that we can draw from before actually putting, you know, I'm not going to say big bucks, but putting together some amount of money to join a, you know, allegedly more prestigious league, right? So I agree in the fact that that this seems to be the way teams are going nowadays. It's not, this isn't 2005 when you can just be like the 12th choice for MLS expansion and say, hey, we're Salt Lake City, we got a team. And then just sort of make it happen. So,
well, I think it's a more authentic way to grow. I mean, we're probably at the point now, you know, obviously everyone is always going to talk about promotion relegation. And I think this is the closest we're ever going to get to that, which is you try your luck in NPSL, or forget about NPSL. You try your luck in whatever local Premier League is. You do well enough, you make enough money, you say, okay, well, I'm going to do like San Francisco and I'm going to play in PDL, or I'm going to be like Birmingham and play in NPSL, or I'm going to be like someone else who's promoting themselves. And you slowly move up the ladder that way, as compared to, like you said, just drop that big money and then say, well, that was a big mistake. I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had done a little bit more thinking and planning. And speaking of thinking and planning, segue like a boss, up in Detroit, they are in the process of, and I apologize, and I guarantee I'm going to say this wrong because there's way too many syllables together. I'm going to say Hamtramck. I want to say Hamtramck, but there's an extra M there, so I know that's wrong. Hamtramck. Either way, the stadium is called Keyworth. It's Keyworth Stadium, and Detroit City FC is in the process of, I guess I want to say renovating the stadium. I think they've leased it out from the city of Hamtramck, but research like a boss. Either way, they're in the process. They need to raise $750,000. It's one of these sort of weird crowdfunding. It's a step above maybe a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe, but they're taking money from people. You have to be a Michigan resident in order to donate money to this cause. They need to sort of completely renovate the stadium, completely rebuild the infrastructure of it. So far, and the article I'm looking at is from December 1st. It's on DetroitNews.com. It said as of December 1st, they had raised approximately $250,000. They need to get up to $400,000 before they can actually get that money. I'm sure that they're going to minimally reach that much, but they're trying to raise $750,000 to renovate Keyworth Stadium, which is in, when I say it's in Detroit, I mean the city of that H word is surrounded by the city of Detroit. And they're trying to build it, and it really is, you know what, I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's definitely a thing. I don't know if it's bigger or smaller than some of the Detroit fans are trying to make it out to be, but I think it's a good idea. It's that whole community ownership aspect, even though it's not really a supporter-owned, per se, club.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you just look at the fans there, I mean, I'm sure they're going to get it, right? Like, I don't know what we're going to, like, if I start trying to talk about, like, you know, the actual issues with this thing, I'm sure I'm going to get 100 things wrong. The thing that's cool about this is that it is a local grassroots, it seems like, movement that is going to contribute to making a stadium, to renovating a stadium as they have, I think, grown out their old stadium. And I think what you're seeing in Detroit is something that's really, you know, I mean, Detroit is probably, it's either them or Chattanooga, who's probably the premier fourth division side in the country in terms of support. I mean, actually, they're usually pretty bad, right, on the field, but aren't they? They're like okay.
They're never good enough to beat, and we're going to get killed by any Northern Guard supporters, but Lansing. They always get killed by not Lansing.
Michigan Bucks.
They always get killed by the Bucks, but they do well enough.
Okay, well, but this is just another example of seeing the game, the game growing in the United States. It's great to see that people are taking invested interest in their community. That being said, and I don't know why this is the case, it kind of sucks that only Michigan residents could donate, because I know for me, I would put up $20 or whatever for that, and if I could, I can't, but because I think it's a good cause. I don't know. I hope they get the money, and I look forward to continuing to see the good levels of support that we get from Detroit, which is a city that we like to not say very nice things about. And when I say we, I mean, you know, basically everyone in the United States. So, but I want to go. I want to go to a game.
Yeah, I do. That's one of those things that I would love to go see. It's one of the premier American soccer atmospheres that I'd like to take in firsthand.
Yeah,
and I do wonder. Obviously, I think part of this is they've, you know, you mentioned it. They outgrew Cass Tech.
Yeah.
So now they're at the point where they need something bigger. And are they needing something bigger just because they want to be able to have those supporters in there and they want to be able to, you know, make a few more shekels on it? Or is this more about they want to have that room to where if they decide to promote themselves to NASL, they have the stadium capacity to do it with?
And I'm not sure, but, you know, and maybe it doesn't even really matter, but they, you know, the thing is that if this happens, it's a soccer team who's like legitimately making a difference in the community in terms of rebuilding infrastructure in a city that's, you know, one of the most plagued by poverty in this country. You know, at least from what I understand. I've only passed through Detroit, but, you know, it used to be a great American city. Maybe it still is. I don't know, but it either way, only good things are going to happen. You know, not even just talking about soccer. If they do in fact get the money for this project, so hopefully people out there in the Detroit area, the Michigan state, are supporting this. Now, here's something that we don't know if people are going to support. So there is a second or an NASL team in Oklahoma City. They announced it maybe a month ago or so. Originally, it was going to be last year or maybe the year before that. They were going to come in as sort of competing with the Oklahoma City Energy, right? Then they made a deal with the stadium, and then from my understanding, the person who made the deal with the stadium jumped ship to the Oklahoma City Energy, right? And so the USL sort of just beat out the NASL. The stadium the franchise was sort of put on a hiatus, and then in order to revive the deal, they got in Rayo Vallecano. I don't know how to say the team's name, but it's Vallecano. It's a Spanish team that no one gives a shit about, right? To invest in, you know, in the Chivas USA sort of model, which we all know, you know, just doesn't work. And not only that, but this new OKC team, Rayo OKC, is not even going to be playing in Oklahoma City. They're going to be playing in a high school football stadium 20 miles outside of the city, while directly competing with a well-supported USL team. And only to add on to that, the fans of the parent club are already protested this team happening by waving OKC Energy flags at a recent game, which means that they spent money on a third division. Fans in a La Liga team spent money on a third division American soccer team that was directly competing with their, I don't even know how to say whatever the reciprocal of the parent club is, in Oklahoma City Madrid, to protest that. So I guess I don't know, number 4 on the first 11 is, why is this happening? Is it a good idea? I mean, it's not, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I don't even understand why it's happening. I mean, it's consistently not worked. You know, I say consistently. We really only have 2 examples that I can think of off the top of my head with NYCFC and Chivas USA. It didn't or hasn't worked. I mean, all right, let's be fair. Let me be fair for a second. NYCFC at the end of the day draws a decent crowd, and on paper they put a decent team out there. It's on paper. Chivas USA was just pretty much a big joke after maybe their second year. I'm not sure why, you know, for us, let's be honest again, OKC is not exactly a sexy city. That's not a place where you're going to, you know, build your brand or raise your awareness. And I guess maybe someone out there is going to say, hey, I want to know more about this Rayo Vallecano, but vast majority of people aren't. And the fact that your supporters are showing up, and I tweeted out the picture on the First 11 Twitter account, the fact that those supporters are showing up to Rayo Vallecano games with OKC Energy flags sort of shows me that they're not okay with this. You know, you should be spending your money on your own team and making sure your own team is going to stay in La Liga before you invest in second division American soccer. Because, you know, I don't even have a because. You just shouldn't. It's not. I don't know.
What's okay? If you're a fan, what's the rationale of choosing to go to Real OKC over Oklahoma City Energy? Because as far as I understand, the OKC Energy, their stadium is at least somewhat centrally located, so that's a plus, right? Here's the other plus about Oklahoma City Energy over Real OKC. Oklahoma City Energy, I'm pretty sure you can drink beers at the games. Real OKC, they're playing at a high school. Pretty sure you can't drink beers at the games. I mean, just as simple as that from a soccer supporter. That's worth like what, 2,000 fans? I mean, I'm going to be very interested to see what the discrepancy in the two crowds are going to be I think OKC Energy averaged something like 6,000 fans a year in the USL last year. Can Real OKC even draw 2,000? Is that going to happen?
I mean, how big is OKC, or is OKC big enough for this? I mean, we look at Cincinnati; they shut down their 4th division team when the 3rd division team was announced. So, you know, Cincinnati, in my mind, is much bigger than Oklahoma City.
Well, I mean, they do have the advantage of playing during the summer, which the only other major sport in Oklahoma City is basketball. Obviously, there's college football as well, but again, that's not during the summer. So, I mean, but why do you go? Why would you? What's the rationale of choosing? I mean, the only thing that I can see, the reason why you would want to go to an NASL game over a USL game in Oklahoma City is like if you want to not see Seattle Sounders 2 play and you'd rather see like the New York Cosmos. Like that makes sense, right? You're probably going to see some bigger stars, you know, like some of the Miami guys who are coming, some of the guys from the Cosmos, right? You're probably the new super club in the NASL, Minnesota United, who signed everyone. So that's the only upside, I think, because from an atmosphere experience, the OKC Energy is going to be better. From a, you know, being able to drink beer experience, OKC Energy is going to be better. And from, you know, an already well put together franchise that has proven to be stable and I believe made the Western Conference Finals in the last, you know, so from a competitive aspect, it looks like OKC Energy is better too. So, I mean, it's not like the level of play is that much different than the USL and the NASL. You know, I talk to guys about that all the time. Danny Barrera went on record, you know, last season saying, you know, it's basically the same. So what's the plan? I don't see a well thought out plan. And I feel like for all the people who want to support the NASL, which is fine, which is great, I just don't see how you can look past teams like this and still say that that the NSL is the, you know, a major league. It's not. In a major league, you don't play in a high school stadium 20 minutes outside of the city. It's stupid. I don't understand. Do you understand?
Not even a little bit, especially when I pulled up the La Liga table just out of curiosity. They are well within the drop zone. Well, they will be in the Segunda.
Yeah, not only that, but their stadium, someone tweeted out pictures. Their stadium's a piece of crap and it needs renovation, right? Like, why are they spending money on this and not spending money on their own? It just doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense, right? Like, if it was like Real Madrid B, like, yeah, that makes sense, right? You know, but this doesn't make sense, right?
No, well, it's whole, and we're just moving to number 5 because it kind of slides right along with everything else. Is NASL expansion as a whole is just kind of meh. Like it's one of those, seemingly with maybe one exception, it sort of seems like it's expansion for expansion's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of does look like a flaming train wreck of expansion. And I like to support NASL as much as I can, but let's just taking a look. I'm looking at the top of their webpage right now. Miami FC is going to come in. I think they'll do decently. But, I at least put together a good team. But San Francisco. Really? Well, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just really quick, can we talk about the fact that their expansion team, Miami FC, plays 30 minutes from another NASL team who used to be named Miami FC? What the hell? Like, I don't get it. Anyway, sorry.
No, and that's I mean, that's another. I mean, what are we gonna have? 4 teams in Florida now. You got Tampa, you've got Miami, you've got Jacksonville, you've got Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale and Miami, as you said, are so close together. They might as well be, Twin City teams. Minnesota's leaving. San Francisco's coming in. Orange County's probably coming in. Puerto Rico's coming in. That's going to cause a whole slew of messes as far as travel. Like logistically, that's just going to be a disaster.
That Edmonton to Puerto Rico road trip.
Lord. Well, forget about Edmonton to Puerto Rico is probably going to be easier than Edmonton to Miami.
Yeah, I don't know. And then we were talking about the new. I reported this last week that San Francisco is in. That's for sure. And we're hearing likely Orange County. But here's the thing about San Francisco is someone found. I believe I first saw it from at Church of Soccer. They say San Francisco, but if you type in oaklandprosoccer.com, it goes to the website that the San Francisco people set up, bayareaprosoccer.com. If you type in berkeleyprosoccer.com, it goes to the Bay Area Pro Soccer. You type in San Mateo, and I bet you don't even know where San Mateo is, Abram.
I have no idea.
San Mateo Pro Soccer. Look, I mean, they're going to be somewhere in the Bay Area. They want to be in San Francisco. I'm told that Ricardo Stanford Jerome, or I don't know how to say his last name, the guy who is sort of heading the expansion bid, or at least the figurehead, legitimately believes he can build a downtown stadium in San Francisco. Now, I don't know, Abram, if you've ever been to San Francisco, but not only is there no space, but the prices are just stupid high, right? So honestly, I think it would be better for the team if they want, and we talked about this before, if they went to be the Berkeley team, or they went to be Oakland, right? Especially Oakland. Oakland's actually a very decently sized city. And it's like I said, Brooklyn West. It is sort of hipster gentrifying, and I think that the people there would want to support a Oakland NASL team. I think it would work better than a San Francisco NASL team. That being said, it totally is a tire fire. I can see them being in Kezar Stadium, which is where SF City FC play, which is actually sort of downtown, but not really. But it's accessible to public transportation. It seems like the NASL just really is, hey, we're going to go ahead and expand to the West Coast, and just with whatever sort of even close to good bid we're going to take. I mean,
I think part of it is the money thing, and I can't speak obviously to the finances of NASL. I can't speak to the finances of the ownership groups of any of these teams. But if you're NASL and you're trying to grow your brand, shouldn't you be looking, instead of looking to bring in a brand new team, maybe see what you can do for San Francisco City FC? Maybe see if you can get someone to help finance Chattanooga. Maybe see if you can get someone to help out in Detroit. It's, there's sort of our Tulsa. Tulsa's another one. Maybe Des Moines. I know Des Moines is not a sexy city, but they've got good support there. So maybe build that way instead of just saying, well, now we're going to have a team in San Francisco, and now we're going to have a team in Orange County, and now we're going to get a team in Oklahoma, even though we don't know if any of those teams are going to be supported. It sort of goes back to that point that we were talking about before, which is, try something out at these lower regional leagues, or in a PDL, or in the NPSL. See how that works, and then build up that way. And if you're a professional league like NASL is supposed to be, go about it that way. It seems like a smarter decision than just sort of throwing a team and hoping throw it against the wall and seeing what sticks.
It's just that they want to be in the big markets, and like they should. But what I don't think they realize is if you look at the better supported NASL teams, where you have Minnesota United, who they're just a well-run franchise, right? And that's a decently sized market. But you have Ottawa is pretty well supported, right? Tampa Bay, these aren't the big, sexy cities like the San Franciscos, like the Orange Counties. I mean, what they should be doing, like you said, is to get an El Paso, Texas, or something like that. A city that doesn't have a team, but it's very well, decent size, and you're going to get good support out of it. They should be doing that, and also I actually like what they did with Miami, sort of targeting the weakness of the Beckham experiment. If they want to directly compete with MLS, which they are not doing right now, and if you think that NASL is competing with MLS right now, then you're a delusional person. They need to be doing they need to be doing stuff like that, going to downtown Miami. They need to be doing stuff like the rumored move to Chicago. I would honestly go as far to say is what if and maybe you would be able to shed some light on the subject. What if an NASL team went and played in downtown Boston? What would that do?
You know what? I don't know if it would do anything because I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm interested with, and again, this goes back to NPSL and their expansion. There's going to be an NPSL team in downtown Boston now. Oh, really? I'm not sure. Yeah, Boston City FC. Again, terrible name, not great logo, but they claim they're going to be in downtown Boston. More likely than not, they're going to be way out in Quincy or something. But I don't know. And I don't know where they would play, and I don't know if it would hit the market. I'm not sure that anyone that doesn't go to Revs game is suddenly going to go, well, you know what, now I'm going to go support this second division team. And, when we get to talking about Portland, we'll talk a little bit more about that idea of major league, minor league, because I'm not sure it makes a difference at the end of the day. I want NASL to do well. I like some of the things that NASL is trying to do.
Yeah.
But truth be told, the way in which they're expanding, as you've got a team in Atlanta dying, it doesn't seem worthwhile. It seems just like a waste.
Yeah, I mean, until proven otherwise, I think that we could just safely say that the NASL is in the full Tyson zone, and you know what? It's fun to watch. I enjoy it. I cannot say that the NASL is my favorite train wreck. I can't look. I can't. But I take my eyes off of it.
But to be fair, I don't think it's fair to say it's completely a train wreck because I think I don't understand what's going on with San Antonio right now. Are they completely done now?
I think they're just waiting for legal standpoints before they get announced as a USL team. They're literally going from NASL to USL.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, Ottawa's fine. Cosmos are not what they want to be, but they're doing well. Jacksonville is fine. Indiana is spectacular. It's sort of, again, it goes down to this sort of second-tier market size. Those teams do very well in NASL. It's just, I think, and I believe it was you who brought this up, and if it wasn't, I apologize to whoever we're stealing this from. Prior to the Cosmos, NASL was like, we're second division, we're not amateur, we're second division, we're proud to be second division, we're really good. And the Cosmos came in and they were like, we are competing with MLS, we're better than MLS.
Well, this is the last point before we go on to another, because I don't want to bash NASL more than we already have. When your flagship franchise in your league is playing a semifinal game in a minor league baseball stadium that has field turf, you are not a professional league. And that's what the Cosmos did. They went to Coney Island to play in a terrible baseball park, and no one came to the game. And that just sums it up. You can think the Cosmos, they're this big team, but they're not. They're really not. I mean, the Cosmos are an NASL team, and NASL is not a major league. Well, and we're gonna segue to some. We're gonna not segue. We're just gonna say the next thing. We're gonna talk about MLS now, right? So maybe you should introduce this this next topic.
I'm just gonna sort of go along with it like this. I was over at MLSsoccer.com. Sorry, Major League Soccer.com today, looking at them announcing the Euros and how such and such players will be playing in the group of death in next year's Euros. And the names that they listed were Pirlo and Giovinco. Obviously, both of them are going to be playing for Italy. I don't think either of them are going to be playing for Italy in the Euros. And I think it's kind of disingenuous of MLS to try to sell it as if they are.
I don't know, because they're both getting calls up regularly. I mean, like, neither of them, certainly, I don't think are. Look, if Andrea Pirlo is starting for your team in 2016, you're not going to win the tournament. I'll tell you that. But Giovinco, literally, I mean, he's going to be playing for them, I do think. I mean, he came off the bench in their last qualifier, and I believe had a hand in multiple goals. I mean, I don't think Giovinco is going to start, but I do think Giovinco is going to come off the bench if they need the last 15 minutes, if they need a goal. And by the way, they're saying that that's the group of death is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There are no groups of death at this Euro tournament.
I don't think I've ever seen such an evenly drawn group. Like, it just across the board is like every group has one or two good teams. Every group has one or two average to mid teams.
and every group has one or two Albania or one Albania.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm most excited? Who cares if they're going to play or if they're not? If they do play, that's great for MLS. It's a good advertisement that, you know, players currently playing in MLS can get called up to arguably the second most prestigious international soccer tournament in the world. But what I'm most looking forward to next summer is how England's going to find a way to fail to get out of the group stage. That's my favorite trope
of the Euros.
Biannually tradition is England, because this England team, you can convince yourself that they're going to be good, but we all know it's England, everyone, and we all know that we're going to get some unintentional comedy of some sort.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, and this one was sent in to us by someone, but since we're bad at podcasting, we don't know who it was. Jordan Morris, the current Golden Child, just scored in the College Cup. Maybe they won the College Cup. I can't find the score because no one cares about the College Cup. But at the end of the day, Jordan Morris is sort of the current next big thing in American soccer, I guess, even though he's like 37. But if he were to end up someplace other than MLS, if he were to go to Scandinavia, per se, or maybe find a way to get over to England or Germany, more likely than not, that would be just a terrible, terrible, terrible situation for MLS.
And because I decided to just do some research, this is from 10-second attention at walk right by, at walk_right_by. So thank you for sending that in. I don't really think it really matters. Is Jordan Morris even a starter if he comes to MLS? I mean, where's he get? I guess, can he play midfield? Can he play outside midfield? Can he? I mean, there's no way he's not breaking into the Dempsey, Obafemi, Martins partnership. He's not going to start over either of them. I mean, because if he's going to MLS, he's going to Seattle. So I mean, yeah, MLS really wants him to come, but he's going to be, yeah, if he comes to MLS, he's going to be one of the favorites for the USL MVP.
But I know that, and this was when we did our last podcast, which was probably back in August. I don't remember when we did the last one, but it was a long time ago. And I remember reading stuff around that time about how MLS was more or less, you know, to the extent that MLS does it, breaking the bank to try to get Jordan Morris to come to Seattle.
Well, they paying,
and it didn't happen.
$100,000.
Well, you know, you can get decent money as a Generation Adidas player.
Yeah, true.
So I'm curious, you know, if he were to choose to go to, and I'm going to go back to Scandinavia because I think that's the easiest one to get into. So one of these Scandinavian leagues, where he'd probably be making similar, if not a little bit less money than MLS. I don't think that looks good on MLS or to MLS if people are like the current golden boy of the U.S. national team. And I'm not even sure that title barely fits him, you know, is going to not play in the U.S. domestic league. I don't think I think MLS, Don Garber is probably having nightmares about that.
I don't know. I mean, it's, if you want to talk homegrown stuff, bullshit, stuff like that, Jordan Morris, it doesn't matter, because you know the thing is that the league is not yet at the point where it would command, you know, an automatic signing like that, right? You know, maybe if you're FC Dallas, you do, right? If you have those sorts of players, but the league is not at the point where, and maybe that's why they have this increase in TAM or whatever, and maybe we'll talk about that, I forget. But, you know, MLS needs to better itself and be at the point where Jordan Morris really literally can't refuse to start playing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's really a big deal if he doesn't play. It's not like he's, you know, a star right now, and it's not like it's not like he's going to sell tickets. You're not going to buy a ticket to go see Jordan Morris play on the road, right? That's just not going to happen, right?
Not until it becomes the new Landon Donovan. Or Freddie Adu.
When Landon Donovan was 3 years younger than him, he scored 2 goals in the World Cup. So, and Freddie Adu, oh man, someone from Venezuela. I was at a gathering last night, and someone from Venezuela asked me about Freddie Adu. He's like, "What happened to Freddie Adu?" And I was like, "Have you heard of the Tampa Bay Rowdies?" And the guy was like, "No." Anyway,
yeah. So let's
way off point.
Yeah, that yeah, we never do that. But sort of sticking with that theme, and so sort of going along with this idea of, is Jordan Morris, or is he not that golden boy, or that, he's definitely the next big thing, even though he's older than some of the current big things. But we don't really have any big things. Let's be honest.
Until Klinsmann ruins him,
Like, boo. All right, so. Continuing on, you talked about the TAM money for a minute. First off, I don't get TAM money. I don't understand what it is. I don't particularly care what it is. But I know you, like I, are probably on the MLS mailing list, and I got a ton of emails over the last couple of days about how MLS is adding $37 million to player compensation. And I'm actually going to read what I have written down for our number 8. It says, MLS adding $37 million to player compensation is something.
I think it's a way of allowing teams to spend more money if they want to, without like increasing the salaries of, and this is sad, but like, without increasing the salaries of I'm trying to think about who's like an average journeyman player in the league. I don't know. I would say Wells Thompson, but he's not in the league anymore, and the guy's the worst soccer player ever. But it's about letting teams, if they want, spend more money to increase the quality of their squads by still letting the Colorado Rapids pay their players on a salary floor, right? It's still allowing teams like Colorado Rapids, who want to be super cheap, not actually pay their players that much money. That's what it is. I mean, that's if you want to, you can be the Red Bulls and you could go out and you could sign Sasha Question with this rule. If you want to, you don't have to spend more than the salary cap floor. That's the simple. That's what it is. It's just a way for teams to more flexibly use their money without actually making some teams increase their wages.
It's a way to let Colorado continue paying people in Walmart and McDonald's gift certificates.
Colorado is. Who would you rather? What team would you rather be right now? The Colorado Rapids or the Chicago Fire?
Just Colorado Rapids.
Why? But okay.
Colorado Rapids. Because Pablo Mastroeni has a dope mustache.
But at least the Fire seem like they have a competent coach, and they have the #1 draft pick, and they have Harry Shipp. So that's something, right?
It's also going to depend on where Jason Kreis ends up next year.
Where is Jason? Why are we not talking about that?
I don't know. I think it happened so long ago that we just decided not to talk about it.
Yeah, whatever. Jason, New York City FC, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Continue.
But the $37 million player compensation thing, I love how any arbitrary. It feels funny calling $37 million arbitrary and meaningless, but it really is. I think it's $800,000 in TAM money. I don't get TAM money. Then it's maybe $125,000 in homegrown player money. I don't get how that works. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to. Maybe you get one more decent player if you're the LA Galaxy or you're the New York Red Bulls, and maybe you get one more overpaid guy who's not going to do anything if you're New York City FC.
Carlos Vela. Sorry, good.
But and I say this every time, and I'm a broken record. If you listen to pretty much any of these that we've ever done over the history of our 22 years of doing this, the money doesn't make a difference until it's spread out evenly. You want to do at $37 million, cool. That's about $1.5 million per team. Raise the salary cap to, I guess that would make it maybe $4.5 million, and say that the money has to be split more evenly instead of just having it on the front.
No, but it does make a difference because if you're a fan, right, teams are getting to sign one more impact player, right? So if you're a fan, you're going to come out and you're going to go watch Giovanni Dos Santos play, right? That's going to happen, right? But if you're a fan, you don't give a crap that a defender is now making $150,000 a year instead of $125,000 a year, because you didn't come out to watch a defender anyway. You came out to watch Giovanni Dos Santos. Like that's why you're there.
Dribble around the defender.
Yeah, right. To cut into his left foot. Yeah, I mean that's simple. It will make a difference in getting more quality in the league. I do believe that. I really do think it's just an excuse, though, instead of raising the salary cap for teams like the Colorado Rapids to not spend money. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, all right. So we're definitely going to talk about Jason Kreis, even though it wasn't on here. So since we brought him up, let's just discuss that now as topic 8.5. What the hell, New York City FC?
Well, I'm just really excited. I'm more excited more than anything. Like, now that Toronto FC are like a sort of competent franchise, that great move by them picking up Steven Beitashour recently. But now that they're sort of
back together,
now that they're a sort of competent franchise, I need a team to watch, fail. Like that's what I did with TFC for 7 years. I watched them every week do something hilarious. They were my favorite reality TV show. I think my new favorite reality TV show is New York City FC. They literally hired a coach with no experience and no knowledge in. I mean,
that always works out well.
It's just you look back at the precedent, and you know what? Maybe Patrick Vieira will be a good coach. Maybe Patrick Vieira understands TAM, right? We don't know this, but it's just that the track record is not great. I mean, you look at Ruud Gullit, you look at.
I love how Ruud Gullit is always the example. Why can't he be Gary Smith?
Gary Smith, because I don't know. That's a good point. The difference because Ruud Gullit said funny things, and Gary Smith didn't. Gary Smith won a championship, right? I mean, that's a good point. But it's New York City FC, and I think honestly, I think I can legitimately say that New York City FC and LAFC right now, even though they don't exist, are probably my two. I will click on any link that someone puts and says, "Hey, did you see this crazy, stupid thing that one of these teams did this time?"
I'm gonna do something for you right now. You know how sometimes you take two things that don't go together, like a peanut butter and banana sandwich, whereas two things that don't sometimes go together. What are you gonna do if as is rumored, Jason Kreis ends up in Toronto FC?
Dude, they're gonna be. What am I gonna do? I mean, I'll watch them.
But is that proof that Toronto knows what they're doing, or is it proof that Toronto is not willing to sit and wait one more year for it finally to fully click?
I don't know. I mean, it's because the question is Vanny a bad coach or is he a good coach? Or who knows? I mean, really, the issue is that they didn't have anyone who could defend a soccer ball. But I mean, you'd honestly rather spend the money that you're spending on Josie on like two defenders. Like it's just I don't know. Just
end of the day, New York City FC was not patient, but I don't think any of us expected them to be patient. And oddly enough, we say we want MLS coaches' feet held to the fire, and the first person that it happens to is Jason Kreis, and we're all like, what just happened here? That is not the guy whose feet you hold to the fire.
It just shows a lack of it's not hard. It's like okay. It's like one of the Republic leadership people management people told me once, he said, it's not like we're inventing the fucking iPod, right? It's true. It's not. It's really simple. You look at every single successful organization, not only in MLS, but in any league in the world, anywhere. And really the key to success is finding the right people and building stability, right? Toronto FC sucked for the better part of a decade. They also had like 10 coaches in that space of time, right? If you look at someone like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are arguably the greatest franchise in the history of the NFL, and they've had like 3 coaches in the Super Bowl era. It's really simple. Stability. You hire the right people. Jason Kreis was the right person. Then you find stability. It's MLS with its roster rules are so complex. It's not like you're running the actual Manchester City team where you could just fire a coach and it doesn't matter, right? Because you can still spend $200 billion on your players or whatever you're going to spend. You get 3 guys who you can spend money on, and if they don't work out, then you're effed,
screwed, right? Until they're gone.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's really simple. So you find the right coach. The right coach was Jason Kreis. I will. There's no evidence that suggests it wasn't. I mean, he literally was given like the weirdest roster with pieces that didn't fit together. There were signings obviously made just to put butts in seats. So it's just for New York City FC is to actually win a championship. That's not their goal. Their goal is not necessarily to be successful on the field. That's secondary, if anything. Their goal is to develop young talent for the Manchester City first team. We'll see if that ever happens. And their other goal is to sell out their stadium. And you sell out their stadium, even if you have a crap team, if someone says, "Hey, Frank Lampard, I'll go watch that." Right? I mean, that's their goal.
So,
their goal isn't to win games.
Let's move on so we're not talking about NYCFC because they make me sick.
Yeah.
All right. So you brought up, and I switched around one of the topics because you brought up Sacramento Republic. So MLS announced at the Board of Governors meeting that they are going to now expand to 28 teams. So we're at 20 now. They're going to want to get up to 28 teams. Obviously, we're at 24 4 after this next round of expansion ends when LAFC, Atlanta, I guess Miami, maybe not. And I'm forgetting someone. Who am I missing here?
Minnesota.
Oh, and Minnesota. Thank you. And Minnesota joined. So there's 4 more spots open. One of those is clearly Sacramento. If it's not Sacramento, that's criminal. I'm feeling very strong that a second one's going to be San Antonio. Who are our missing 2 teams?
I think, well, okay, and we talked about this off air, but I think one of those teams, MLS, is going to bend over backwards, I think, in the same way that they are with Miami. I honestly think to try and acquire a St. Louis franchise, right? Not only does that city mean a lot to the, or what we like to say, it means a ton to the history of soccer. But if you look at recent events, they sold out a World Cup qualifier at Busch Stadium. That place was packed. They sold it out for I can't even remember the name of the team.
What was it?
It was some island nation who.
Was it the Grenadines? I don't remember.
Yeah, same thing. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Look, they sold out that. I mean, there's clearly soccer support. There's a huge community. And by the way, I would love to see St. Louis sign like a big Bosnian star or something like that. The place would go crazy. But I think that honestly, St. Louis is where MLS wants to be.
Yeah, every map that you've ever seen, like people see the maps in the background behind Don Garber's head with the MLS question marks behind it, and St. Louis is always on the top of that list. But here's my honest opinion about St. Louis. I believe it could work, and you're sort of laying out the groundwork for how it could work. But I don't think it works without Stan Kroenke. And I know that sounds ridiculous coming that he owns Colorado right now, but I think unless he sells that Colorado team, because he's going to get a new NFL stadium. He absolutely is going to get a new NFL stadium out of St. Louis. And fact of the matter is, new NFL stadiums always come with an MLS team. So unless he sells the Rapids or they allow him to have a second team, then there's not going to be an MLS team in St. Louis.
The thing you're overlooking is that Stan Kroenke doesn't want a new St. Louis stadium. Stan Kroenke wants to move the team to Carson, California, to get to LA, right? But I believe, and I'm not an NFL reporter, but I believe that there are 2 proposals for an LA NFL stadium, right? Which is interesting because this will segue into the next team, right? There are 2 proposals for an LA NFL stadium. One's in like Burbank or something like that, and one's in Carson. And it involves different teams moving around. I believe that Stan Kroenke's proposal is the one that's not favored. I believe the other one is favored, and I could be wrong. This is just from reading Monday Morning Quarterback by Peter King. I haven't watched a minute of NFL football this year because who cares? But it's interesting because the other moving parts of this, from what I've heard, are that MLS wants to be in San Diego, but the only way that MLS is going to be in San Diego is if San Diego moves to the Chargers, if they move to LA, because what would happen then is that from what I'm hearing is that San Diego would build a new like 40,000 seat stadium or whatever for one of their college football teams or something like that, and that's where the MLS team would be housed. Right? I don't think this is a good idea, but I know MLS does want to be in San Diego, and there's a reason why whenever you talk to people about expansion, they always bring up San Diego, even though there's no team, no prospective ownership group, and really not even a good idea in my opinion. Right? So if that works out, I think that San Diego will happen, and we'll have to see if MLS would want 5 teams in California. Again, I don't think this is a good idea, given that everyone's just going to go to the Cholos game anyway. But I think San Diego is a possibility. But I honestly think the last team has to be at this point in the 11 if they get their stuff together. I don't know if they're MLS rich or whatever.
And this is what it comes down to for me is there's not a clear-cut team after San Antonio. Right. It's Sacramento with San Antonio. That's maybe Oklahoma City Energy,
maybe
Rayo
OKC.
Yeah, but there's no other clear-cut team. I mean, in theory, I love the idea of bringing the Tampa Bay Rowdies into MLS, but I don't think that's realistic. I don't think they pull a decent crowd. They don't pull a huge crowd. There's a built-in rivalry from Orlando. It's the closest thing outside of Seattle, Portland that there is in American soccer, but I don't think that's realistic. There's no other really 27, 28. So then is it just going to come down to, as you said, just saying, well, we want a team in St. Louis, let's put one there, and we want a team in San Diego, so let's put one there.
Well, but not.
I don't think there's a smart choice.
Right, but not having that, literally, if you look at what happened in Sacramento, Sacramento was like, oh, we need to be this team, right? Because we need to be the team. So, but MLS doesn't necessarily need to be in Sacramento, right? So Sacramento, what they did was like, okay, we're going to show you, right? We're going to do amazing things on and off the field. We're going to get a beautiful stadium design downtown. It's going to be perfect. Like literally what they're doing is, there's no smart choice, but some team is going to put together a bid like Sacramento. And, maybe it's not a city that MLS would necessarily think, hey, I want to be in here, but it's going to come into the league as literally a perfect market in terms of already built-in infrastructure. Because that's good. That's
what I want them to do, instead of just saying we want St. Louis and San Diego, is maybe you wait a year or two until I can't even think of a small size market off the top of my head that Nashville. Wait till look at what's happening in Nashville. That's just a random city that I pulled off the top of my head. Let's go there because this new Nashville USL team is doing incredible things, or whatever that market happens to be. And as you said, it doesn't have to be a market you think about. And that goes back to what we were talking about with NASL, which is you want to be in the big market, but does the big market want or need you? And in some cases, it doesn't.
Well, and that's why I think they didn't put a timetable on it this time. I think when they put the timetable and said 24 teams by 2020, I think they already knew which 4 teams they were targeting and which 4 teams they were going to get, right? I don't think they know this time, other than Sacramento and probably San Antonio, from everything that I'm hearing. But
so speaking of small markets, we're gonna finish off with a small and a big market. Let's look at our current MLS Cup champions. Yeah, we got all the way to the end of the podcast before we started talking about MLS Cup. Portland Timbers won MLS Cup first in the year. Did it before Seattle, did it before Vancouver. Good for them. Portland winning MLS Cup. Tiny market, but great for MLS.
I mean, honestly, I think MLS would rather see like Seattle Sounders win MLS Cup, because that's arguably the biggest club in the league. And, the ratings on TV weren't good, but hey, here's a secret: MLS maybe don't schedule it at the same time as NFL. But I think it is good for the league, because you saw what happened in the celebrations downtown. It was amazing. I mean, one of the Portland, if you haven't seen this video, you got to go look it up. One of the Portland assistant coaches singing "Don't Stop Believing" to the Timbers Army. He can't sing it a bit. It's like if you go to a karaoke bar and you heard me sing, right? It's terrible. But the celebration, that's a city, probably out of any city in the entire country, that's a city that wanted to win MLS Cup probably the most, right? And it happened. And it was the first trophy in for the club in its history at any level. It was an amazing story. Literally, there already is a book about it that's coming out in like January or February. You can pre-order it. It's through the Oregonian. I mean, this is a city that cared. People, if they don't win a championship for the next 20 years, people are still going to talk about it, right? It's funny. I just finished the great book, The Breaks of the Game by David Halberstam, which chronicles Portland Trailblazers season. This is actually very similar to to MLS right now, because that was they won in 77, 78, I believe, and that's when the NBA was struggling to find a national footprint. They didn't have a ton of TV contracts. They weren't getting good ratings, right? That city still talks about, Portland still talks about their one championship that they won. That is still talked about. It's huge in that city, and having success stories like Portland winning the league is good for the league. It's what you don't want is what happened in 2010 when Colorado Rapids beat FC Dallas in a game that no one was at in Toronto.
Well, to me, it's like the reason why it's good for the league is LA's won how many? I doubt they've ever had like a huge parade for LA, even with Beckham and Donovan there. We were talking last year among the Revs supporters, which is do they get a duck boat parade in Boston, which is sort of the big thing that happens to every single professional sports team in Boston. They win his professional championship and they get a duck boat parade. And it was sort of, will the Revs get one? I still honestly believe that they absolutely should not have gotten one. I don't think they would have gotten one. And even if you look back to what's happening in Portland right now, or not right now, but right after it happened, where you have these sort of professional radio hosts coming in and saying, why are we having a ticker tape parade for the Portland Timbers? This is the minor league team. it's sort of, it's that same argument that you get everywhere it is, no matter where it is. It's always, this is minor league. This is not big deal. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. In 20 years.
Hey, I got a baby screaming in my ear. Hold on. Say hello. Say
hello, child of Abram. Already the best Chamberlain to ever be on the podcast. Wow, I've never done that. Usually, when I mute it, then Abram can do some pretty good filler, but not the other way around. I don't know. There's not too much to say left about Portland. We'll quickly just go to the last one. So, DC United got a new logo. It's interesting because I remember reading the other day or seeing, you looked at the MLS original logos and names, and DC United is pretty much the only group that got it right, and they. It's funny because I think it was Brian Strauss who wrote, if every team that started in MLS, could do it over again, could choose their name and logo over again, DC United is the only one who would probably do the same thing. And it's funny because they had a good logo. Their logo was good. This was a team that did not need to rebrand. And instead they rebranded, and now their logo looks like a giant piece of shit. Like, it's just a terrible logo. God.
Yeah, I was looking back at and this is actually, it's their second rebrand. The first one is very minimalistic change originally, but I don't understand what they were going for. It seems like not just, it's not a step forward, it's just a change for the sake of change, and it's not a good change. And I've had people say, well, the old logo had a soccer ball on it, and this one doesn't, so that's a step forward. Yeah, but this one's got an eagle whose wings are flying past the edge of the crest and then a floating DC United over it. Truth of the matter is, we're always going to, no matter what happens, the New England Revolution could rebrand tomorrow, put out the greatest crest in the history of soccer where everyone around the world was like, oh my God, that's the most amazing soccer crest I've ever seen in my life. And we'll still make fun of it. But the DC United one, just, the rebrand didn't make sense to me. I don't understand, or not rebrand, but the redone logo doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't look any better. It, like you said, looks worse, actually.
There's a logo I'm looking at right now on your wall. The Gulf Coast Armada logo is better than the new DC United logo, and literally that's there's no team with that. That's just what basically you in like a Photoshop, like maybe even Microsoft Paint, and you did a better job at DC United. Remember when DC United was, like the flagship club of MLS? Remember that?
That was never a thing. Never happened.
No, I mean, as far DC United hasn't won an MLS Cup in 11 years.
But they won a Supporters Shield a couple of years ago.
They won a couple Supporters Shield. They won an Open Cup. Yeah, but I mean, DC United was a juggernaut, and then they lost all the momentum. DC United is not going to be like a real professional soccer team again until they move into their new stadium.
And when is? I was thinking about that the other day. I figured I would have thought that they would have, if they were going to rebrand, and I keep saying rebrand, but that's the wrong word. If they were going to redo their logo, I would have thought they would have waited at least until that new stadium was done.
Yeah.
I can't imagine minimally it's going to be before 2020.
I don't remember the date. I know that's supposed to be, apparently it's a good location. It's a good number. It'll probably, sell out every time. But I don't know why they did this.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
An awful logo. I mean, I could probably go down the list. I could go down the list of our NPSL expansion teams that were listed at the beginning and probably mix and match who's got a better logo than with the new DCU logo.
This is the equivalent. This is the MLS equivalent of putting a capital Z as the last letter in your team name.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So I think we're about to wrap up. We're down to one viewer, which means
we had more than one viewer. We had more than one viewer.
We always get up to somewhere around 20 in the middle of it, but then my child comes in and starts screaming, and we drop immediately.
All right. Yeah, 20 people. Wow.
20 was our maximum. I think it was actually more like 17, and I'm rounding up, but whatever.
Dang.
Anyway, so on that, let's see. I'm gonna. What's the word? What do we always say? Plugs. I'm going to plug all of Evan's stuff. Evan is going to be writing a book. It's going to be coming out. He's going to be basically the new Grant Wall, or at least a Grant Wall of the Bay Area based on Twice a Cosmo. I am doing nothing. But I have kids and Evan doesn't. Suck it, Evan.
Well, no, I don't want kids right now. I'm young, Abram. I'm not how are you? 45?
Just about.
Yeah, that's I don't know. The book will be out sometime next year. Check out Byline Press though. At Byline Press, they do good work. They're some good guys over there, and I don't think I have anything else to plug other than that.
Yeah. So this has been episode something or rather of the First 11 podcast. Your favorite biannual podcast. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter. He's at Evan Ream. I'm at Mind of Abram. Podcast is at First 11. Maybe we'll actually update it once in a while since we actually did a podcast this week. I guess there's a network podcast or a network Twitter page out there. I don't remember what it is, but
the ASP.
At the AASP. We're sort of on Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a rating or review on something or rather. You don't really have to, because at the end of the day, you're going to give us that rating, and then we'll never do another show, and you'll be like, "What the hell?" Anyway, this has been episode something or rather of the First 11 podcast, and we're sorry.